Title of this video is called The Symbolism of the Inverted Cross. Right? I know I made an error on the title. I'll correct it after I'm done recording. But it's supposed to be the symbolism of the inverted cross. Let's get straight into it. Now, the inverted cross is also called the cross of Satan Peter or Simon Peter. We know that Simon is another word for Maximilian. And there's a deity called San Simon and Apollo Mayombe spirit, which is a spirit of divine justice. You know, that teaches the art of invisibility, which I did a video on that on the website already. So it's really talking about San Simon. San Simon is another form of the devil or Ishu. So it's really the devil's cross or Ishu's cross, which I've already spoken about. Now, we understand that religion is set against you going further in your natural state of being. So when they flipped it upward, that's religion going against the natural order, because the natural order is the invert, because things come from above and descend below, right? Things don't go from, of course you have, precipitation. If I'm even saying that right, where the water goes up into the clouds, we understand that. But if we're talking about spiritual energy, we're talking about energy descending from Kether all the way down to Malkuth, if we're talking about the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life. Now, the inverted cross represents transfiguration. What is the definition of transfiguration? Transfiguration is a complete change of form or appearance into a more beautiful or spiritual state. Right? Yeah, what's up? What's up, 305 Capricorn, 3 a.m.? You know what I mean? We just gonna keep going. You know what I mean? See, motherfuckers think I'm playing. This is like my 10th video. I done did exclusive videos and all that. I'm gonna keep going. You know what I mean? This is what that fasting do. So we not playing around. But let's get back on point. Right? So moving on. The inverted cross also symbolizes the spiritual function of water and the economy of initiation. So let me give y'all a visual. The hangman represents the inverted cross. So once again, it is the spiritual function of water and the economy of initiation, right? So we see that triangle going down. Let me see that. That downward triangle is a symbol for water. We also have the Hebrew letter right here, which represents Mem, which is symbolic of water. But it is the spiritual function of water and the economy of initiation. So as we see a man going through an initiation. And we see waters are below his head, right? So the hanged man is going through a initiation of the waters, or a baptism, which is also a death. So baptism is also symbolic of going through a death or a transfiguration, once again, which means a complete change of form or appearance into a more beautiful or spiritual state. That's what baptism is supposed to do, because baptism predates, religion. It predates it. So these traditions were already in motion before religion was even on this planet. Religion just took all of these traditions and put their own spin on it. And that's why, we are in a world of psychopaths. We are in a world of psychopaths because religion, again, sets you against going further in your natural state of being. Right? So the inverted cross became the upward cross. However, it also represents the supreme formula of adeptship. The supreme formula of adeptship. Right? You want an adept, obviously, is a spiritual master, right? So this is the supreme formula of adeptship. We see that his feet form a cross. Or not a cross, a triangle. His legs form a triangle and he's hanging off of a cross, right? The triangle is surmounted by the cross. So we know the cross, before it was the cross, it was the Ankh. We know that the cross comes from the Ankh. And the Ankh is shining its light from Kether. On the Tree of Life, the Kabbalah, the highest spirit is Kether, right? So the light of Kether is descending upon the hanged man. Lastly, which represents the descent of light into darkness in order to redeem it. One more time. So that light at the top represents the descent of light into the darkness in order to redeem it. So that's very special. So light has to descend to redeem itself. This is where the light and the dark come together as one. Because the light in its purified state is one thing, but when the light has to go into the darkness, then re-emerge, which is what transfiguration is. For light to go into darkness and redeem itself into a more perfected or refined state. So he is deciding to go into the darkness by hanging upside down. So his head is pointed to the earth, which represents negative energy or feminine energy. His head is pointed towards the earth. You also see the serpent at his head, and there's also a serpent at his foot. We don't even have to get into the symbolism of the serpent. But the light descended into the darkness to redeem itself, or baptism, the spiritual or the supreme formula of abdeptship, right? Because you have to make the sacrifice. And this is why I'm always speaking about sacrifice. This is why I'm always speaking about, you know what I mean, you have to have your own experience. You have to literally be dangerous. You have to put yourself in situations that challenge you. You cannot be comfortable. You have to constantly be evolving because there's no other way to evolve. Religion is not going to do it. Talking to your friends is not going to do it. Talking to your family is not going to do it. Motherfuckers at your job is not going to do it. This can only be accomplished by self, by you placing yourself in a situation that causes you to go through a transfiguration state. So the light descended from above. It's like taking sunlight and shining sunlight into a cave. So that sunlight is going into the darkness of the cave. But when the sunlight goes into the darkness of the cave, it becomes like a laser beam. Like just laser beams of light only enter into the cave. So it's just little speckles of light inside of the cave. But those little specks of light inside of that cave, which lights that cave up, may not light it up completely, but it gives you a ray of light. And when you are gazing into that ray of light, it's like staring into a new dimension. So if you were a person that lived in darkness and you see a beam of light, that's showing you a different dimension because that light has penetrated that darkness. So you truly see what light is. It's just like the stars above. When the sky is illuminated, you don't see any stars. You don't see the stars till the sky becomes blackened. That's when you start to see the speckles of light. That's what it's representing you, because if it's completely illuminated, which is what Kether is, this is like the top is complete illumination. But the more and more that light descends, and when you get to that darkness, now those speckles of light become more visible in terms of, okay, I see what's really going on here, because you can't stare directly into the sun. Let's just say, at noon. But if you just see a beam of light at noon, you can actually gaze into that beam of light because that light has been penetrated into the darkness. So it's not the same as staring directly into the pure sunlight. Now you're staring into light that has gone into the darkness so that you can still see its true essence, but you're still surrounded in darkness because you're going through that transfiguration stage. To go into the darkness, to see the light within the darkness, to realize that that light has gone through many phases, right? The hangman is going through many phases because just by you hanging, if you were to hang yourself upside down, like if you were to go to a park and get on the monkey bars and hang upside down like you used to do as a child, that's why kids do that naturally, because they are naturally in tune with the vibration of the earth, so they love to be upside down. You tell an adult to do that, they'd be looking at you crazy. You're like, yeah, go hang upside down. As an adult, it's like, so obviously their sense of self was lost at some point. If as an adult you see that as something weird, like, oh, I would never do something like that. But as a kid, you found no problem with it because you were more in your water state or your spiritual state. And once we started to evolve out of that, now things that were natural to us seem unnatural, but then we wonder why we're imbalanced. So this is just encouragement to, practice some inversion. That's what it's called. When you stand on your head, hang from some monkey bars, hang from a tree, and, stretch your arms out to the world. Right? As you see here, he's stretching his arms out. So if you were to hang and stretch your arms out, this recharges your energy in ways that it will not recharge as if you were standing upright. See, when you stand upright with your feet planted into the earth, that's a certain type of, just like this thing about a battery. It's a certain type of energy flow when your feet are on the earth. That energy flow changes when your head is being pulled to the earth by gravity. It's a whole different experience. You are getting a completely different charge, right? Which takes you more into the feminine energy or the yin energy, which allows you to purify and transfigure, to go through a complete metamorphosis of consciousness, because you were not afraid to do something like that, which may be considered dangerous, to hang upside down. But you understand the spirituality behind the water. It is the spiritual function of water and the economy of initiation. We know that initiation has to come from self. Self-initiations are the only initiations left. There's really nowhere else to go to get initiations. Of course, we have, regular traditions still in the world, but self-initiation is king in the 21st century, where all things are becoming one. So just take this little plus lesson, study up the hangman, and there you go. So we're going to check out, and I'll see y'all in the next video. 1.